Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. A hotly contested race is shaping up in Prince George's County with several popular politicians looking to take the helm. Earlier today, county lawmakers set the dates for the special election to fill the remaining 2 years of County Executive Angela Alsobrooks' seat. The primary will be held on March 4th of next year. The general election will be held on May 27th. We will take a look at two of those candidates today who say they are up for the task. And we begin with former county executive Rushern Baker, who announced his candidacy earlier today. Mr. Baker, thank you so much. Congratulations on your candidacy. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. And Earl, thank you for having me on the show. And I'm glad this is, after the announcement, the first interview that I'm doing. So it's good to be back on WHUR.
Well, thank you so much. You are one of four candidates who are vying to be the next leader for Prince George's County. Currently, the Chief Administrative Officer, Tara Jackson, is serving as acting county executive until that special election is held. Of course, as we know, Senator-elect Angela Alsobrooks resigned last week as she prepares to take her new seat next month on Capitol Hill. Let me first ask you, you've been there before, you want your old job back. Why come back to the county executive's seat? Why run again?
There are a couple of reasons. And one is this is a special election to fill out the last 2 years of the county executive's term. So what we need coming in the middle of what's going to be the General Assembly session in January, given the things that are happening on at the federal level and at the state level, both budget-wise, we need somebody who can be county executive the day they're sworn in. Because really, you're not going to have 2 years. You're going to have about a year and a half. And so for me, it's one, the experience to be able to be county executive and understand it the day I'm sworn in. The other thing is there are a lot of things that were unfinished business. I call it that when I left. If you think about the issues that were happening during my time, the FBI, one of the projects I worked on for 8 years to get that project here in Prince George's County. We finally got it. And now we've got an administration in the Trump administration that may be hostile to that. I've dealt with the Trump administration. We also are going to have a situation where many of the federal jobs impact Prince George's County uniquely than any other place. We could have an administration, once again, the Trump administration, that's going to go after those. I've actually dealt with that. I've been through a federal government shutdown, dealt with this administration. So you think from that standpoint, crime is an issue that's happening now. We've seen the rise of crime over the last 6 years. It's something I had to deal with coming in 2010, but more importantly, it's something I know how to deal with now. So it's one, bringing the experience, but also taking advantage of the opportunities in Prince George's County to make us better, to make us competitive, to bring people back to the county and businesses back to the county in a way that I know how to do.
You said in reference to the FBI headquarters that the Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration, may be hostile to putting it in Prince George's County. The Trump administration may very well be hostile to creating a new building anywhere, just kind of anecdotally speaking. What makes you think that if a new building would be built, that it would indeed stay in Prince George's County where the decision was ultimately made?
I think you just hit it right on the head, Harold, and that is the Trump administration is probably hostile to anything with the FBI, not the location. I don't think they ever were, mad about the location, whether it was Prince George's County or Northern Virginia. They just didn't want to have, in the first go round, they just didn't want to have the FBI leave while the former president, soon to be president, had a hotel right there on Pennsylvania Avenue. This time around, just think about it. The person who slow walked this whole process has been the FBI director. So one, Trump's not going to do anything to endear himself to that guy. So I think they've got to move. The building in DC is dilapidated. Trump does not own the hotel anymore on Pennsylvania Avenue. Someone else owns that. And so I think us using, and this is where I uniquely come in as opposed to my opponents, is I've dealt with Capitol Hill and the Senate and the House on this issue. And many of the players are still there, not just from Maryland, not just Steny Hoyer, not just Chris Van Hollen, but also some people who we know are close to the Trump administration, like Andy Harris, the congressman from the Eastern Shore, who I served with in the legislature. But also we were able to use last time, and I think we'll use it this time, is my connections with county executives across the United States who also are impacted by the FBI. If you're from Virginia, North Carolina, Delaware, any of these places, you still want the FBI consolidated offices here. And so I think, we can use that experience that I have combined with being able to talk to the folks on Capitol Hill.
The other big real estate deal that is on the minds of a lot of Prince Georgians is the stadium where the Washington Commanders play, Northwest Stadium or Northwest Field. Still trying to get a handle on that. But there is a move by DC Mayor Muriel Bowser. She's been very, very vocal about wanting the Commanders to come back to Washington. If something like that were to happen, then you've got this huge stadium in Landover. What would happen to that under a Baker administration?
Well, one of the things is, once again, I spent 8 years negotiating with the Washington football team and the Commanders to stay at formerly FedEx Field and now Northwest Stadium. And what I've said this time around is the stadium is a lot different than when it was first put there by County Executive Wayne Curry. If you notice what we've done over especially the last 8 years, the 8 years of my administration, is we not only have built restaurants and hotels, but we've also moved county administration buildings into the Largo area. We moved the hospital over there. So what we turned the Largo area into was a downtown Largo. So the entertainment district that the Commanders have asked for, and I think I can negotiate with them to keep it here in Prince George's County and in that area. We've seen development around Glen Arden during my time as county executive. We want to expand that development. The Blue Line Corridor, which is something we focused on, 8 years ago, but now that expansion can take place. I think we can offer them the type of stadium that they want and need to move forward. We also have other sites that I think in Prince George's County that would be advantageous to the Commanders. We've turned National Harbor into an entertainment district with MGM, with other facilities there. I think that would be a nice place. I think we're in a good, and for me, I can start negotiating with the Commanders on day one, and our competitors across the region, whether it's my good friend Mayor Bowser, or our folks in Northern Virginia.
But if that doesn't happen, what would happen to the stadium? And another real estate deal, the old Landover Mall site. It continues to be, an eyesore. What would happen there?
Well, one, if the stadium was to be moved, I'm not saying it would go into the district or to Virginia, but if we moved the stadium, let's say if we moved it to National Harbor, where the entertainment facility is already there, and there's some sites that could be really advantageous for the team and for us. The area where they will be leaving would not be vacant and an eyesore like it would have been maybe 15 years ago because there was nothing else around it. We have now built a whole ecosystem around that Largo area. So it's not just dependent on the economic traffic from the stadium itself. It's also what's going on with Wegmans, the development of not only housing, but mixed use development around Glen Arden and around where Woodmore Town Center is, and the fact that we actually have offices there. And so with us putting the hospital, the Prince George's, now the University of Maryland at Cap Region in downtown Largo gives us another catalyst for economic development. So I'm very comfortable as county executive to go in and to make that area still vibrant. It was part of a plan that I left when I left office to redevelop that land with or without a stadium. So I think we're in good shape. We put enough there to make it viable.
I want to talk to you about some other pressing priorities. As you know, the state is talking about, the state leaders, I should say, talking about shortfalls. The county is facing a budget deficit of more than $170 million. How would that be addressed? Furloughs, layoffs, cutting services, and the dreaded T word, taxes. How would you address that if you were to be elected?
Well, the good thing about me coming back into that office is I had to deal with all of that from the very beginning, and throw on, the fact that the former county executive was going to jail on top of all of those things, which meant that the economic climate in the county was not what it should be. So coming in this time around, the state, I think, is facing somewhere about a $2.5 billion budget deficit. The county's facing $170 million, as you said, budget deficit. When I came in, it was $150 million. And so we didn't furlough or lay off folks. What we did was, and I think it's still in place, is we put in a plan to attract businesses to the county that weren't doing, hiring before, to attract them. That's why we came up with our $50 million Economic Development Incentive Fund. And that helped us bring businesses to invest in the county, to hire people. And so my focus then, and it will be now as county executive, is one, to reassure the business community that they're getting a county executive that knows what he's doing on the first day that he enters that job. And I think I can do that based on a reputation of creating jobs. The second thing is to deal with my friends in Annapolis. There are resources that we don't have that they do have. Even if they're in a budget deficit, there are things that their mandates they sent down to the county level that I talked to and talked to the governor and to the Speaker of the House, who I served with when I was there, and to the President of the Senate. The bottom line for us in the county is we've got to get our economic footing back in order. For 5 years in a row, we led the state in job creation. That's gone down. We were the wealthiest African-American community in the nation and probably the world. That is now our sisters to the south, Charles County. So we've got to get both the businesses. So when people leave, they don't just take their families, they take their businesses. And so what we have to do is bring back those businesses to Prince George's County, get those residents to come back here, but also be competitive with our friends in Northern Virginia. Amazon was something that I worked on as county executive. I think there's an opportunity to expand that footprint here, but more importantly, investing in the small and medium-sized businesses that are in the county and getting them to invest here. And that's something I was successful at as county executive. So I'm not a new player to any of these businesses out here.
Mm-hmm. I need to take a quick break, and I have a couple of more questions before I let you go. But please don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue this conversation on Sirius XM channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation about the upcoming special election for the seat of Prince George's County Executive. We've been talking to former county executive and newly announced candidate Rushern Baker. Mr. Baker, what would you say to any criticism from someone who says, listen, we need new blood? We know Rashern Baker, and we want to see, a newer face. I mean, from a political perspective, you're a young man, but you've been there before, as you said. You know the inner workings of the county. But what if somebody wants new, fresh ideas? What do you tell them?
Well, I tell them I'm the candidate with the new, fresh ideas, because unlike the other announced candidates or the folks who indicated they're running, they're currently in office and they've been in there for 6 years. So that's one. So they haven't had time to look at, like I have over these last 6 years, to actually look around the state and work with other jurisdictions on economic development, reducing crime, and health, and providing quality health care. The second thing I would say is that this is about 2 years. This election, this special election, is about filling out the term of the county executive. So you're not going to get, 8 to 10 months to learn how to be county executive. You have to be able to do that job and have a meaningful impact immediately. None of these other individuals will be able to do that, because it just takes you that long to learn a $4 billion corporation. That's what Prince George's County is. And so I think we need help right now. And so that's what I would say to them. One, I'm bringing in, ideas from being out of government, for taking time away from government. And two, being able to go in there and understand the bureaucracy immediately and have a meaningful impact.
Rashern Baker, former Prince George's County executive and now candidate for Prince George's County executive. Thank you so much. Good to see you, sir. Good luck to you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on.
Sure thing. Well, joining me now is Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy. She is also a candidate for county executive for this upcoming special election. Ms. Braveboy, thank you so much for joining the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Harold, for having me.
Sure thing. So let me start with you regarding your candidacy. You already have a job, and you, along with a couple of candidates, Calvin Hawkins, Jolene Ivey, they also have positions. This special election is going to cost at least $1 million. If one of them wins, or if you win, then there's kind of this merry-go-round of special elections that will have to be held to kind of fill those slots. With shortfalls that the county is already having to endure, budget shortfalls, how do you feel about the possibility of this merry-go-round of special elections coming? And they're going to be expensive, quite frankly.
Well, let me just say this. Should I be successful in this special election, my office, actually, the Constitution dictates that the circuit court judges vote to determine my replacement. So there would not be another election, another special election. There would be the regular election that occurs in 2026. And the judges of the circuit court would select an interim state's attorney.
Mm-hmm. Why do you want to do this?
Well, currently in my role, I see a lot, as you probably can, imagine.
I think we all can all agree on that. No question.
But what I see in particular as it relates to government is where agencies and policies of government have met the needs of people, and where we have not, as government, met the needs of our residents. And let me give you a few examples. I unfortunately encounter numerous victims as well as defendants who suffer from mental health or substance addiction issues. And one of the things that we don't have in our county, which I will be a big proponent of and will push for, is a long-term mental health treatment facility because it's very important that we address immediate needs. So we have, I think, done a lot to address the immediate acute needs of residents in our county. But there are families that are suffering through the issue of having individuals in their homes who are unsafe in their homes. They love their family members, but living with them day to day presents a danger to the entire family. But we don't have a facility within our county that can provide long-term treatment where individuals can visit their family members, but also that those family members who need support can get support. So I realize that that is a huge need of our community. In addition to that, crime, follows where there are, signs that there is neglect. And when we see the trash on our roadways, when we don't have reliable and consistent trash pickup, that presents for those who want to commit crime opportunities because they believe that these areas are being neglected, that they're not being watched over. And so ensuring that we have clean roads, ensuring that we have reliable trash pickup, these are some basic functions of government that we must address. And when it comes to education, number one, we need to make sure that our kids are in school. I have taken significant steps to reduce truancy. I have taken parents to court whose children were not in school. We would give them opportunities to get it right. And when they refused to or did not comply with the attendance requirements, I wasn't afraid to ensure that I enforced the truancy policy, because it's really important that young people are in a productive environment and not out on our streets, carjacking, holding up folks, robbing, and really, engaging in desirable behavior. So these are some areas: education, healthcare, the environment. These are areas that I intend to really focus on as state's attorney. And lastly, when it comes to economic development, that must be real to the residents of Prince George's County, not just so that we have another restaurant or another store to go to or places that we can be consumers, but we need to be able to be those business owners, those developers, the people who are building our own community. And we have to have a commitment to hiring and working with people here in Prince George's County. And I often say that it is good business. It is good business to do business with the people of Prince George's County. Because if I'm spending dollars in Prince George's County with Prince George's County businesses, I'm getting a return on my investment. Those dollars are recycling in my community. The people who are going to be hired on those projects are people who are residents of Prince George's County. The internships and externships, they go to the residents of Prince George's County and students in Prince George's County. It is critically important that we use the resources of our taxpayers to invest back in those businesses who are committed to our county.
So with that said, are you suggesting that that has not happened? And if that is the case, what would you do differently that has not been done in the past?
It hasn't happened at the scale it needs to happen. I think every administration comes in and says, hey, we're going to spend more dollars with the residents and the businesses here in the county. And I do believe they have good intentions, but there hasn't been an actual plan and commitment to do so. And that starts with the buyers. Who are these buyers that are purchasing the goods and services for the county? They're likely the same buyers who have been there for 20 plus years, who have their own relationships with their own businesses that they have felt comfortable doing business with for years. And many of those businesses don't reside in Prince George's County. And so I think it starts, number one, with not just saying I'm committed, but ensuring that the leadership in the agency that is doing the purchasing understands that there is a shift. There is a shift in mindset, and that we have to open the doors and expand opportunities for the businesses here in Prince George's County. I can tell you, I go around the county a lot. There are so many IT businesses in Prince George's County. They're doing work at the federal level. They're doing work in other states. They're doing work in other jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. But guess what? They can't get an opportunity in Prince George's County where they live, where they have a commitment to, where their families are growing. They can't get an opportunity here. That makes no sense to me. And, we're going to look at every opportunity we can to buy locally. Again, it is good business to do business with the people of Prince George's County.
As you are well aware, the fight over the new FBI headquarters is not over. Virginia lawmakers are ramping up to change the results of the recent decision to put it in Greenbelt. The Trump administration, it is unclear where the incoming administration will be on this issue, whether or not they will support the previous decision for Greenbelt, or whether they will support building a new FBI headquarters at all. How would you guarantee that the decision to keep it in Greenbelt stands?
Well, there's no guarantee that I can make, but what I can guarantee is that I will continue to fight and make the case for Prince George's County. We know that we offer the lowest cost when it comes to development and acquisition of land. We know that we are ready. We are ready to build. So we are in a site where it's already ready to build. We know that we are near the metro and other points of transportation. So we know that we are the best location. It's really all about political will. And I have the will to go to Capitol Hill, to go into other jurisdictions to make the case for Prince George's County. I will work with Governor Moore, who has advocated for the Greenbelt site. I will work with him and other lawmakers at the federal level and the local level to ensure that Prince George's is well positioned to accept the FBI. Ultimately, it is going to be the administration's decision at the federal level. That's the reality of things. But we have to continue to make the case. I've done that in court, and I'm going to do that, in my next role as county executive.
What about Northwest Stadium? I'm sure you know that DC Mayor Muriel Bowser wants the Washington Commanders to come back to Washington proper. And there's, of course, a lot of talk about figuring out how to have that happen. If something like that were to happen, what happens to Northwest Stadium? And by extension, what might happen with the Landover Mall site, which has been an economic and geographical desert for many, many years?
Well, let me start with the Landover site. It is my understanding that the county has approved that site for development as a data center. So that is the current plan for the old Landover site. Whether that's the best use of the site, that can be debated, but it is my understanding that the administration and the council is paving the way for that site to be a data center. When it comes to the stadium, now I am from this area, and I'm a huge fan of the Washington Commanders. And I believe that their current location serves fans well. It serves our community in terms of our generating tax revenue. But I also believe that we can do more and better. We can have more commercial development around our stadium to support fans as well as to support residents who live, work, and want to recreate in that area. So while the stadium is amazing, I do believe that it should remain in Prince George's County. I think we have to be committed to building around that stadium so that the stadium isn't there just to support the games that are played by the Commanders or concerts every now and again. I think that can be an area that we can see some real year-round activity that will generate more revenue. So I will fight like heck to keep the Commanders here in Prince George's County, and I will also work with their new ownership to look at developing more opportunities for our residents and businesses so that we can grow in that area.
Let's talk money. The county is projected to have to address a $170 million budget shortfall. What would be the plan for a county executive, Aisha Braveboy, to address that? Are you talking about reduction in services, taxes, that terrible T word? How would you deal with that?
Well, I think taxes have to be off the table. We cannot increase taxes on the backs of the people of Prince George's County. We have one of the highest tax rates in the state of Maryland, and it has priced some of our residents out of the county. So that is a non-starter with me. What I will say is that the first thing that any executive should do is an audit of how the county is spending its resources. We're going to have to tighten up. That's the reality. We're going to have to tighten up. But we also have to make really smart investment decisions. We have to look at what we're spending money on and determine whether or not we are spending our money wisely. And then we can, make some decisions with respect to how the budget will work in the future. But coming in, my goal would be to tighten the reins, to grow our rainy day fund, which we will need in order to keep our AAA bond rating. We will need to increase our rainy day funds, which means we're not going to be able to spend as much initially. And we're going to have to audit every agency and function of government to determine whether or not those expenditures are wise expenditures as we move forward. But taxes are a no-go. The residents have rejected them time and time again. And I also think it would be unfair to place the burdens on the backs of the property taxpayers in Prince George's County.
You know, Prince George's was considered the wealthiest majority Black county in the U.S. That title is now being held by Charles County. What happened?
Well, I think you have to also look at the size of both of our jurisdictions and really the diversity in terms of economic diversity of both jurisdictions. Charles County is a wonderful county, but it is, a quarter of the size of that of Prince George's County. So we're talking about a much smaller population. We're also talking about a population that does not have as much what I would consider poverty or low income housing as in Prince George's County. So what I would say is that Prince George's County is the wealthiest large county in America, and Charles County has benefited, quite frankly, from some of our residents choosing to live somewhere else where they're paying less taxes and they can get more house for their money. It's the same thing that happened with Washington, D.C. Myself, even my parents moved from Washington, D.C. to Prince George's County in the late 70s because they wanted to have a bigger home, a nice backyard. and they wanted to raise me in a place where where I could enjoy a good childhood. And you can still enjoy a phenomenal childhood and family life in Prince George's County, but it's going to cost a little bit more than in Charles County. And so some residents have decided to move there. And we understand that. That's why we want to get them back. That's why we are saying we're not going to raise taxes, because we know that one of the factors that people look at in determining where they're going to live. But it's not a competition between us and Charles County. We're two different counties. Our populations are very different. But when it comes to economic development, when it comes to housing options, when it comes to so many indicators of growth, Prince George's County is definitely where it's at.
So when you talk about economic development and growth, one of the things that has been an issue for Prince George's Countyans, and I still
Prince Georgians.
Prince Georgians. Yes, well, I'm old enough, and I think I can be allowed to call it PG, because that's what we called it when I was a kid. But I'm sure I'll hear from the boss about that. But nevertheless, the one of the biggest complaints for generations is a lack of upscale shopping, and a lot of Prince Georgians, they leave the county to go to Tyson's. They go to Columbia to shop for high-end products, or to eat at more diverse restaurants. What is keeping Prince George's from adding those kinds of amenities? Let's be honest. Do Prince Georgians really have a taste for that, or is it just a small percentage of the population that are complaining about that, when the vast majority of the Prince Georgians really don't want that?
Prince George's want and deserve high-end retail, restaurant experiences, and other amenities that they could potentially get in other places. We absolutely deserve it. In fact, I often say, even the stores that we do have, sometimes the buyers don't buy the higher end designers that we may get in other department stores. Just giving you an example, Macy's. The Macy's at Bowie Town Center is very different than the Macy's in downtown DC. Extremely different than the Macy's in Tyson's. And guess what? It's not fair. It's not fair. And so for companies like Macy's, I'm not going to be afraid to speak up and point out this disparity. Our residents shouldn't have to drive 40 or 50 minutes away just to be able to purchase certain designers that Macy's already contracts with. They should be available in Bowie. Bowie is one of the wealthiest areas in our state, not just in Prince George's County, in our state. Okay. And there are residents of Bowie, residents of areas in and around Bowie, even residents. It doesn't matter where you live in Prince George's County. You can afford to shop at the Macy's and Tyson's corner and get what you want, right? But even though we have the income, even though we have the willingness to go out and shop, we don't experience the same shopping experience here in Prince George's County that other places experience. And I am going to speak up about it. I'm going to be very upfront about it. I'm going to hold these corporations accountable to our residents, because it's just not fair. And the worst thing we could do is just accept this disparity. And you know me, Harold, we've known each other for years. I'm not the kind of person that's going to accept foolishness. And to me, I don't know why we are treated so differently. But what I will tell you is that I will be an advocate for the shoppers, residents, taxpayers, and everyone here in Prince George's County. So this is an absolute important issue that I will address as county executive. And I do apologize. I have to speak at a mental health conference, and I'm
No, I
just
appreciate
arriving
that.
now.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you making yourself available. I will say to you, as I said to Rusher and Baker, and when I speak to the other candidates later this week, good luck to you,
Thank
and
you.
we will certainly be in touch.
All right.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you
your
very much.
candidacy, and thank you, Aisha Brave Boy, County State's Attorney and candidate for Prince George's County Executive. Again, thank you so much. Be safe. We'll be in
Thank
touch.
you. Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That is the Daily Drum for this Tuesday, December 10th. I'm Harold Fisher. Good night.